thank you for all the donations. I'm sure there'll be a few trickling in afterwards on the condition that I never do this again. Yeah, so I'm going to be honest with you all. I'm wearing this suit pretty much only to compensate for how tired I feel right now. I got up really early this morning and failed my 3rd driving test. It's ridiculous. I failed the first time for being too fast, the second for going too slow, and today the examiner told me to drive into the test centre, so I did. So unfair, so unfair. The worst part about learning to drive the last couple of years hasn't been the actual driving, though. It's been the fact that my driving teacher, Maria, has asked me every single week for the last 2 years if I've met someone yet. I wasn't even that pressed about the fact that I wasn't in a relationship, but it's my driving teacher who seems to care the most about it in my life, and it's making me anxious, quite frankly. Like, now the only reason I want to pass is just so that I don't have to feel this woman's disappointment every time I tell her I haven't had a date that week. It's like she doesn't know I already have one Jewish mother. Now I never know whether what she's saying to me is about driving or dating. Like, she says, I think your main problem is you're giving mixed signals. She kept asking me, do you go both ways? Because this is a one-way street. The other day, she finally just came out with it. She said, Tilly, are you seeing anyone at the moment? I said, no, for Christ's sake, Maria, I'm not. She said, there are kids on the crossing, Tilly, and slammed the brake down. I'm talking about those kids you just hit. So yeah, I killed some kids, but hoping to pass next time. Yeah. The actual reason I'm learning to drive, though, is because I need to take my grandma on excursions from her care home. In March of 2020, we raced to get her into this care home for her own safety. No, seriously, she was living on the 4th floor of a block of flats, and the lift kept breaking and she struggles walking. So we decided, instead of leaving her trapped on the 4th floor, we would leave her trapped on the ground floor of the care home. But, care homes so tragically inevitably became like prisons during COVID. So we recently deliberated over whether to tell her the pandemic was over. And we decided that we would start trying to give her some of her freedoms back. The other hard thing about not knowing how to drive, though, is that I don't get hired for jobs where I have to travel. I work in TV, and my first job out of university was on the popular property daytime show, A Place in the Sun. People heard of it? People heard of it? Right, well, I got about as close to the sun as a vampire from Lapland. For those of you who don't know, in the show, British couples who are looking to buy homes abroad in Spain or another hot country are shown 5 properties for their budget by the presenter. And at the end of the episode, typically on a beach, they have to decide if they want to put in an offer on one of them. So I used to find the houses in Spain, but don't worry. I could do all the initial research from a converted bungalow on a farm 15 minutes up a hill from the nearest Metropolitan Line station in Zone 8. And, in Zone 8. Yeah. And some days it was difficult because, I'm not going to lie, British wannabe retirees can be demanding. But I got thinking how much more difficult it would be if they did a Spanish version of the show. Where Spaniards try and find homes here. It would probably be called Un mierdero en la lluvia, or a shithole in the rain, for those of you who needed that translation. And a rich Spanish couple, Raúl and Verónica, who are fed up of their freedom of movement, decide to buy here with a budget of 500,000 euros, looking for a 2-bed flat. The presenter announces, for their budget, we have found Raúl and Verónica a 1-bed shed in the idyllic neighborhood of Croydon. behind closed doors, don't get me wrong. They hate every single property, but the presenter tells them they have to choose one. So at the end of the episode, instead of the beach, they meet back up at the entrance to the drive-through McDonald's. It does exist, by the way, I've been there. And the presenter asks, "So, Raul, how are you feeling about moving here?" "Well, we were slightly alarmed by the stabbing outside the Bet 365 earlier this morning. But, you know, the shed, it has some space. And we have been so sick of the sun back home in Barcelona, you know. So I think we're going to take the shed for 500,000. Phenomenal, the presenter says. And because they're Spanish and typically they would love to find a nice bottle of vermouth to cheers with, but found it cost more than the actual shed, they settle on Lidl's own brand Lucozade and call it a day. Unfortunately, as they head back to Spain after filming, Raul and Veronica accidentally follow an arrow at Gatwick Airport with the words "A Place in the Sun" underneath. Of course, they think it's been made specially for their return to Barcelona after filming, but soon find out it was a government-sponsored message and they're on a flight to Rwanda. Never able to return. Yeah. Never able to return to either Spain or the UK again. Happy election, everyone. Thank you.